Happiness. What makes us happy? Where do we find happiness? That is not just a fleeting moment of a happy experience, but it's something that we can tap into any time at will, on demand. Hi, I'm Katerina Satori. Welcome to this video. I remember a client of mine asked me, says, Katerina, I want to know, how do I become happy? How can I be happy? And we entered this beautiful contemplation together about happiness. Because one thing about happiness, your version of happiness will be unique to you and to what is important to you. Comparing to my version of happiness will be unique to me, right? So there is no universal formula for happiness. And then another thing is really a distinction between a happiness when oftentimes people think about happiness, and I've done it before so many times, where you say, I'll be happy when, even if you say it inside, even if you say it only in your mind, you say, I'm gonna push a little bit more, I'm gonna build my business, I'm gonna create my financial freedom, I'm gonna find myself on the top of that mountain of achievement, and then I can exhale and be happy. But ultimately, what we are as people are driven by, we are driven to seek freedom. Whether it's a freedom to work on our terms, whether it's a freedom to do what we love to do, whether it's a freedom of time, we're driven by freedom. And we have this belief that when we are free, we are happy. But until we realize, if we put that freedom or that happiness in the future, we continue to chase it, we continue to postpone the gift of joy. You see, joy is available to all of us here and now. It only takes a pause, a slowing down, and a willingness to rediscover the magic in your ordinary life. It takes that willingness and desire to see your life exactly as it is, with a new, gentle eyes, with the eyes that become curious, with the heart that becomes soft and available to life. And instead of focusing on perceived flaws of your reality, or perceived missing pieces, or areas that are still in question in your life, we all have those, all of us. You begin to train your mind to focus on all the things in your life that are filled with beauty, with harmony, with elegance, with tranquility. And sometimes maybe it begins with a very, very, very short and small thing, such as you notice a flower. I remember I used to live in a desert. Right now I live by the beach. It's always been a dream of mine to live by the ocean and to have a beach house, right? But I grew up in a Soviet Russia, in one of those not so beautiful old Soviet buildings that are built out of cement, and there is no beauty in that architecture. It was very functional building to put as many workers of Soviet Union into that building. So I grew up with that, and I didn't grow up with seeing flowers in my backyard. I grew up with seeing dog poo everywhere, because people in Russia don't pick up after their dogs. So everywhere you go, you see dog poo, and you see, you just don't see a lot of beauty unless you live in the countryside. But people really care about environment, at least because they take care of the land, right? So the countryside of Russia, where my grandmother used to live, is what was really supporting me. And some of my favorite memories of my childhood was to go to my grandmother's village and ride my bike for hours and walk through the fields of flowers when they were in bloom and talk to the trees. This was really my saving grace. And you see, this is my cat, Grace. The moment I start talking about her, she appears. But this was a huge discovery for me, that if our happiness depends on our circumstances, our happiness is not based on something, on a strong foundation. It can be destroyed in a minute, right? But joy, our ability to cultivate joy, that can be found in any moment, in any circumstances. And joy is a frequency that arises spontaneously when your heart is open, even if it's just a little bit open. You begin to emanate joy. So joy is to say, I am willing to look for something beautiful in my environment. I am willing to open up my heart. So when people search for happiness, a lot of times they miss this part about joy. Joy can be experienced here and now. Happiness is often we chase it in the future. But eventually, when you know how to cultivate joy, happiness comes over as that butterfly. When you stop looking for happiness and you begin to live your life with so much appreciation, with so much, openness to your experience, falling in love with your ordinary life, your life begins to turn into extraordinary journey. It only takes those eyes to really begin to notice it. So I offer you this. Where can you find joy? What brings you joy? Start there. What brings you joy? I remember for me it was always books. I would lose myself in reading a book as a child. And the turbulence of my home environment, I grew up in a very turbulent home. Not all the time it was turbulent. There were many loving moments, right? But there were many turbulent chapters where people would be screaming and fighting, and the energy and atmosphere of my childhood was lacking harmony. So books were my trusted companions to escape to and to step into a completely new world filled with different landscapes and heroes and heroines, and to follow a story of somebody's life and to read about what a human spirit truly capable when the circumstances are bleak. It looks like not in their favor, right? So to me, I carry this deep love for books. I have a lot of books. I think you can see there's one bookshelf and there's another bookshelf right here. There's so many books in my house, and there's also upstairs bedroom where I have books everywhere. Books to me have always been such a treasure, a beloved companion. So reading always brings me joy. Going on a walk and listening to music that moves me brings me joy. You see, my happiness is rooted in something that I can tap from within. When I have, to have a beautiful beloved that you share your space with is a gift. To have children, or to have work that fulfills you, or to live in a space that inspires you, all that contributes to your happiness. But don't let it define your happiness. Don't make it a prerequisite for your happiness. Learn to find joy within, and that joy will lead you to your true happiness. Almost like, think about when you do or experience what brings you joy, you plant the seeds of happiness in your inner world. And sooner or later, those seeds will sprout. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that. And especially if you're going through a dark time and your future is unknown, and let me tell you a secret, the future is unknown for all of us. And it's actually a really good thing, because we can begin to understand the gift of not knowing our future. We begin to see the gift of experiencing our life as a great adventure instead of fearing what will happen tomorrow. You see, all of that is unlearning what we were taught about the world and learning to discover our world through the eyes of innocence, not naivete, but a true innocence, where you look for beauty, you look for harmony, you look for what brings you joy, and then you become the joy giver. You become the person that when people are around you, their joy expands. That's a possibility, right? So you don't need another person to make you happy. You don't need a particular amount of money to make you happy. All of those things are byproduct of your joyful inner world. They are byproduct of you unlocking the happiness within. So how do we become happy? We begin to remember that it's always been within, and joy is your compass that leads you to the butterfly of happiness that is ready to descend on you. If you enjoyed this video, I always appreciate if you leave me a comment. I am practicing and playing with using these headphones to make sure that you get the best sound for the video. And if you'd like to learn more about my work, you can see my social media on Instagram and Facebook, and of course my website, katerinasatori.com. I am grateful to spend these few minutes with you, and I hope you remember that happiness comes to you when you stop seeking it and you learn to practice tapping into your joy every single day.